In a quiet little village, an old man lived in a small but cozy house. Outside his home, he had a beautiful garden filled with small plants, colorful flowers, and young trees. Every morning, just as the sun rose, he would step outside, take a deep breath of fresh air, and greet his plants. "Good morning, little ones," he would say softly, brushing his fingers over their leaves. The old man treated his plants like friends. He talked to them, cleared away weeds, and made sure they had just the right amount of water. He never rushed their growth. He knew that plants, like people, needed time and care to become strong. One day, a wealthy man moved into the house next door. His house was grand and enormous, with tall windows and golden gates. And behind it, he had a vast garden, even bigger than the old man's. The rich man noticed the old man's small plants and laughed. "Why are your plants so tiny?" he asked. "Look at my trees. They're tall and mighty. You must not know how to grow a proper garden." The old man simply smiled and continued tending to his plants. The rich man, on the other hand, was in a hurry. Every day, he poured lots and lots of water on his plants, thinking that the more he gave them, the faster they would grow. He never removed weeds, never checked their roots, and never spoke to them. Still, his trees stretched high into the sky, and he boasted, "My garden is the best in the village. Look how big my trees are." One evening, dark clouds rolled in. The sky rumbled with thunder, and the wind howled through the village. A powerful storm had arrived. Rain poured down in heavy sheets, and strong winds shook the trees. The old man watched from his window as the storm raged on. His plants bent and swayed, but he wasn't afraid. But next door, the rich man was worried. He had never seen such a fierce storm before. He peeked outside and saw his tall trees shaking violently. Branches snapped, roots lifted from the ground, and within moments, crash, his plants and trees began to fall. The storm lasted all night. By morning, the sky was clear again. The village was quiet except for the sound of birds chirping. The rich man rushed outside and gasped in horror. His entire garden was ruined. His tall trees had been uprooted, his plants were scattered, and broken branches lay everywhere. But when he looked at the old man's garden, he was shocked. Every plant was still standing. Not a single tree had fallen. The flowers swayed gently in the morning breeze, as if the storm had never come. "How is this possible?" the rich man cried. "My trees were much bigger than yours. Why did they fall while your tiny plants survived?" The old man smiled and gently touched one of his plants. "You only wanted your plants to grow big, but I wanted mine to grow strong." The rich man frowned. "What do you mean?" "You gave your plants too much water, but you never let them struggle. They grew fast, but their roots stayed weak. My plants, however, had to stretch their roots deep into the ground to find water. They became strong from the inside." The rich man looked at the old man's garden and then at his own. He finally understood. That day, instead of boasting, he asked the old man for advice. And from then on, he learned to care for his plants with patience, just like the old man. Because true strength doesn't come from how big you are. It comes from how deep your roots grow.